I thought that we could review and discuss some techniques, fighting techniques, training techniques, practicing. So this is my backyard. Behind me is a storage shed type area. The ground is uneven. Already warmed up a bit because I didn't want the video to be too long, showing me just going through the stretches. We'll do that at a different time. I'm wearing regular clothes because it's important to have sessions of you practicing with the clothes that you normally wear. You want to be able to do your moves or understand what the restrictions are. A lot of clothing, or some people don't stretch, or maybe it's too tight, and you might have to modify your kicks, or you might not be able to kick at all. It's important to know that. The ground is uneven. That could help you with your balance. That could also help you get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes if we feel an uneven surface, we get timid in throwing a kick or timid in making a certain kind of move. So, yeah. I'd like to focus, one of the general focuses through this session is going to be fluidity, to be able to flow, to be in control. I also describe it as the control. But what I mean by control is your body does what you want it to do. You throw your moves when you want to throw them and stuff. And another key point I was thinking is you don't want to do 4 or 5 things habits, little things that you do to get yourself in some comfort zone before you do your move. You start to realize, like, maybe your right foot does this little stutter step before you throw a left kick. You're going to try to look at yourself and catch those things, catch those little habits that you might do. I could describe them as like your comfort zone. You find that your body jumps into this comfort before you do a move, and that's predictable, and opponents could pick up on that. It's also slowing you down a little bit as well, and limiting you. So here this one's also gonna focus a lot more. This video, I noticed, focuses a lot more on upper body punching and stuff like that, even though I do throw some kicks. We'll get to that later. So here I'm just showing you the control. Your body, you should practice different angles and different movements. You're in control. Try not to square up too much, but practice your squaring up too, because there's times when you will be squared up intentionally, and there's times when you won't be, and you'll move more to a narrower profile, which is maybe a harder target to hit, or you're providing less area. You want to keep your hands up. Of course, you want to practice that. You want to look at the things that you're doing, the moves that you're doing, and notice if the other hand is dropping, or something that I tend to catch myself doing is my fists will become loose if I'm not focusing, and so that's a big thing. Catch yourself. Here, punching while moving. So this is part of the control. See, there should be no position that you don't have your combat options in. That would be a great ideal situation. So involved with that is balance, obviously. It's key. So here I'm showing you, see, to have control. Now, obviously, this might not be as much power as a haymaker or whatever, but the point is, if you were on one foot or if you were off balance, you want to still be able to throw your punches and do your moves or have some kind of control on them and stuff. So that also goes for just different angles, and if you're crouched down low forward or crouched down back, to still be able to throw some moves and stuff on them. So here we're practicing some defense as well. So keeping the hands moving, keeping the hands up, fluidity, back and forth. Mind your stances and your hopping and stuff like that. Make sure your chin is down. So a lot of times I will practice with sneakers as well. I'll practice without any shoes either, but I tend to do very little without some form of footwear now, because that's, to me, the least realistic of what I do in my life, which is walk around the world barefoot. So the shoes I'm wearing now, they're a bit lightweight and stuff. So be careful when you're using sneakers, and especially on some surfaces, if they're not too slippery or whatnot, they can rip your groin apart, especially when you're training and practicing. I do have all different kinds of workout stuff that I wear. I won't always train in regular pants and a shirt. So especially when you're practicing stuff and you're practicing some new stuff and experimenting, you want to be careful because you throw some kind of kick, and if that pants that you're wearing or clothing catches the knee and sticks instead of stretching with you or moving up, to throw you off, and you find it'll stunt your kick a little bit and ultimately leads to some kind of injury. Oftentimes on the leg part, you'll pull the groin a little bit. Okay, so here, the 1-2, messing with different timing and paces of the 1-2, but okay, yeah, distance. When we're practicing, we find ourselves, especially on the warm-up, and you see that a lot, even pro boxers and stuff, they're throwing these very short distance punches and moves, and that's good because you're just warming up. But be careful in your regular practice that all of your moves aren't actually infighting at a close distance. Be aware of that. Okay, so make an effort to punch at a distance. You know, obviously, one of the two main relationships are in close to the clinch type, the grapple area type, and then at a distance further away. People back away, or even if you hit somebody, they might stumble back. So you got to be able to have punches that travel a certain distance. Obviously, there's a balance between being controlled and still having defensive options, and when you're throwing so far out that you're making yourself vulnerable. Moving around in your stances, I want you to practice those things here. So to get used to all your defensive positions. Excuse me. These defensive positions that the hands could be in. Visualize your opponent. Visualize what's going to happen. Don't throw punches and kicks. Don't do moves to an opponent that's not going to be there, to a position that's not going to be there. Don't think that you're going to front kick somebody or side kick somebody and then you're going to throw some kind of crescent kick or some kind of short punch or uppercut. Because if you've ever been in any kind of fight or sparring and you hit somebody with a side kick, unless you're stumbling forward, they're going to be at some kind of distance. The side kick itself is a move that covers a certain amount of distance. Okay, let's see. The overhead block and the other type of blocking. Be sure that when you actually do the block, you're in such a position so that the opponent's move doesn't extend over it and still smash you, or make sure your block isn't so high that it doesn't go under. A lot of people do that. They will make contact with and be able to block something, but the position is poor, so the strike still hits them. Same thing what I just showed with that elbow. Keeping that elbow down, you want to be able to move it around to protect your hip and to protect your gut and ribs, kidney, and stuff like that. So, some of these are dedication moves. So you're dedicating a little bit more. Commitment. You're committing a little bit more. And others are snaps. You mix them in there, and it'll be very valuable and stuff. You might not always want to commit or throw your power punches and stuff. So, again, control, relaxed, and then snap and hit. Boom. Okay. Another reminder as well, when you're doing your moves, okay, don't throw your kick, throw your punch, and then just back away or back out, especially backing out high. I mean, I'm not saying that as a golden rule, that you always have to, but imagine that you're dealing with an opponent. So you're going to have to keep your guard up as you're backing out. A lot of fights have been lost right after the clinch, because people don't know how to back out of the clinch and they get destroyed.